DCX Sonic 3. After padding where I get the same exposition the last issue just told me, Silver's somehow written to say out loud the silver lining of the situation. He's socially awkward in the games, but he's not that bad. He's the wrong kind of rude. Why isn't anyone wondering why Silver's still around if his ancestors got eliminated? I guess they think it's because he desynced from the timeline by time traveling. Tails looks like he's about to explain why his world isn't gone, but it amounts to nothing. At least Sonic calls him Buddy, but there's a bunch of boring dialogue after this. I guess he doesn't want to give them false hope just to let them down, so he doesn't tell them what he suspects right away. It has Sonic plan on protecting this world to return the favor to its heroes. Somehow Shadow doesn't know if Maria would have wanted him to carry on and protect a different world. Not at first, anyway. There's way too much boring dialogue after this when Sonic already did enough to establish it. I couldn't give less of a shit about seeing them face off with supervillains. Just ridiculous cartoon characters who aren't remotely reminding me of bad people in the real world for the sake of catharsis against them. And there's nobody without plot armor around for the heroes to protect. So who cares? Eventually Silver finds a Chaos Emerald even though it's in the wrong universe, so that's stupid. Why would he waste time listing a bunch of names? He's got telekinesis, why did he even need any help? I guess he didn't fight at full strength because he wanted to make the people around him feel important by getting to do stuff. So he didn't instantly end the fight, since he can just grab people directly. After some more boring melodrama where a bad guy has his power enhanced by an emerald, and I don't even get to see the impact when he gets hurt. I wonder why Amy is recognized as a hedgehog when she looks nothing like one. At least it's nice to see Amy in a different outfit. The scene really didn't need to continue after the fight ended. How am I supposed to believe Metropolis is smaller than Angel Island? Somehow patrolling it takes no time at all for Knuckles even though it's a city. He's not used to cities, so it's hard for him to keep track of it all. Otherwise the dialogue's insanely uninteresting. I can't help but kind of appreciate how it reminds me of when he was gliding over Albion though. More stating of the obvious and nothing happening. Screw 5 issues, this should have been 4. Lex Luthor has a boring talk to Knuckles where he offers to help him for not being a power flaunter. So he was jealous of Superman. I hate how much dialogue gets crammed into one panel. If this was Penders, everyone would be mocking this, but people still don't think Flint's got the same problem. This might be the worst problem. His pacing is terrible, and it even invades the stories where he does everything right. Knuckles has the common sense to not trust him and say he's heard this before. I assume it's because Eggman tricked him into fighting Sonic in the games too, and at least him not referencing that is less dialogue to read when usually there's too much, like the writer thinks they're stupid. Somehow Lex thinks Knuckles shares Superman's moral failings because he doesn't trust a stranger with a bad reputation. What moral failings? I guess he's just lying. He tries to threaten him with kryptonite only to find out he wasn't holding it at all. Knuckles just says he found an emerald and leaves. Thankfully he does come back asking him if he was trying to poison him thinking it was kryptonite, which is something that was blatant from him asking if he shares Superman's weakness too. So what took so long? I don't like that it's mocking Knuckles. The story doesn't keep me invested after this being cliche and ridiculous. Why is Shadow driving a car when it can run faster than it? Shadow at least spin dashes through Joker's car, but he still lets him taunt him way too long. I'm glad he interrupts him by kicking him, but the art didn't show the impact, so it's not as good as it thinks it was. It's a shame that the story didn't show me the appeal of the Joker. How convenient that all of the emeralds happen to get found by the heroes on the same hour because they just happened to be where the villains they wanted to fight were. It's not even like they were attracted to the heroes, which would have at least a little bit made sense because they share a universe. I hate that Sonic tries to reason with a ridiculous supervillain telling him to just give him something that means the world to him instead of just hitting him or grabbing him, making him trip. Why is he being like IDW Sonic, the pathetic Mega Man X ripoff, when he's not IDW Sonic? So why does Sega let him get away with this? Since when is he reasoning with Eggman? He's arbitrarily told he has no right to wear the uniform he's got no reason to wear anyway. They all know they're aliens. There's no point in hiding it with superhero costumes after all. Sonic gets to lampshade the hypocrisy coming from Reverse Flash, who somehow still hates how many acknowledges as a hero. Why does he think Sonic lacks the focus and conviction to be a hero? He doesn't know him at all. He hasn't seen him do anything. This would have been satisfying if he had a good reason in-universe to insult him. If he was insulting him for the things that he did wrong in IDW. But he hasn't shown that he lacks focus. And he has more than enough conviction. Again, another ridiculous, silly cartoon villain in a scene with no stakes, where I have no idea what's even going on, so I'm desperate for it to end the whole time. There's a cringy part where he accidentally paraphrases something Shadow said in SA2. It's believable in context. He talks so much to him after all. Eventually he realizes Sonic took the emerald from him. Sonic risks getting interrupted by taunting in front of him instead of running with it instantly. There's more action that refuses to show impact against him anyways. What's the point of the action scenes if they're not going to do that? If they're not even allowed to do that? And it's implied that Sonic used Chaos Control without saying the words for it. He is the main character of the franchise, so it feels right to have him be better than Shadow there. And maybe it makes sense that with all of his time fighting supervillains, he got over his ridiculous aversion to using Chaos Control for no reason. If only the story just cut to the heroes all meeting up together. I guess Tails is just wearing stuff over his body. Otherwise it'd be gutsy. I can't believe they didn't show me a scene where Tails was being awesome in an action scene. He's got technology he didn't have before. He looks like a cyborg now. He could have been like Rick Sanchez. People complained about Tails sorta looking like this in Lost World and not getting to do much. And instead of getting to see what future Tails might be like when he's reached his true potential, I got nothing in this issue. He got cheated out of what would have been the only action scene I would have cared about. Tails hasn't gone to be as much of an action hero as he started out as in a long time. The fact that this is the case in the games too for budget reasons is all the more reason to be better than that for the sake of the fans. It turns out that Green Knuckles is Beast Boy shapeshifting to mock him. And at least Tails tells him to knock it off. Why did he mock Knuckles? Why is he a jerk? And it's finally lampshaded after Archie that Knuckles looks awful in green. I'm glad Knuckles gets to clap back at him. So there's more boring dialogue after this. Tails predictably reveals that their world survived because it was hidden in a pocket dimension, and one of the emeralds is still there somehow. And eventually Shadow has the good sense to say that maybe they should stay here because if they go home, it opens up this world to an invasion by Darkseid. Can't they just program the portal to automatically close behind them so it wouldn't open up the world to an invasion by Darkseid? He should say that, instead of saying, let's stay here. But I guess he's operating under the assumption that it's impossible to make the portal automatically close, so never mind. So he's kind of got better morals than Sonic right now. If they fail, there'd just be 2 worlds conquered by him instead of 1. But of course he gets ignored, and there's more excessive dialogue. I'd ask why Sonic isn't the one making this pep talk since he's the main character, but Knuckles is a better character than him in the modern continuity, so he deserves this. Knuckles also had it rough for a long time in all of the franchise, but at least it's because he's stupid and not because he's an asshole. Amy gets to make a convincing argument for Shadow by saying that he wants another shot at Darkseid. There's more boring blathering which explains why they'll be able to go home, and surprisingly the story ends there, when it didn't really have a cohesive plot before it ended. Saying it was random events would be being generous, because most of the supervillains only seem to be there to pick fights with heroes instead of having better, more realistic reasons. When it just feels lazy to have them be just about sadism. Whatever happened to thieves? They should be more common in superhero fiction because you instantly understand them and take it seriously that they're there. And I like random events plots normally. I love the first issue of the Sabrina 90s comic, but this is how you do it wrong. This boring issue by Ian Flynn, where the Sonic characters have generic fights with supervillains who are only there to fight them, was extremely unengaging for someone who doesn't care about superhero fiction, making me desperate for the dialogue to end anytime it happened. It failed to create interest in the universe from someone who didn't have it, only confirming that I was right to not want to care, which is the opposite of what a crossover is meant to do. Because this must be a terrible place to live in for the average civilian, with all this constant fighting being pretty much all we're seeing related to it. Sonic's interaction with Reverse Flash was the memorable part, and only because it expected a reference to trick people into calling the issue good, so it drew a parallel between this and when he fought Shadow. Only the people who were already worshipping every story Flynn wrote would do that. And we all know it's just because Flynn wrote it, so they would have found an excuse even without game references. It struck me as impressive that Shadow handled the Joker different than Batman by interrupting him and refusing to converse with him. One of the only things I looked forward to with this crossover was finding out what the in-universe justification would be for these characters being reluctantly forced to wear these silly superhero costumes. There was none. I know they wanted to repay their favorite superheroes and carry on their legacy, but nothing forced them to wear the suits. It's not like they did this to hide their identities and infiltrate a place. It'd be a paper-thin disguise anyway, but it'd be more in character than them wanting to wear them. I didn't think they'd want to wear them because they never did this before. And the fact that Tails was the only one who didn't get to be cool in an action scene was a slap in the face when I finished the issue. Maybe they should have had one action scene, where all the heroes were together, but the focus was on Tails getting to be awesome, and it had villains who felt like actual people who had a reason to be there, like bank robbers who found overpowered technology.